I'm really excited about today's video. I'm going to continue the process of looking at different attacks and vulnerabilities, and today we're going to look into error and exception handling. And the second thing we're going to look at is what's in the news. I read an article today about 1.9 billion data points being compromised, but we'll get into that a little bit later, so I'm really excited about it. So let's hack into it. So I'm really excited about talking about error and exception handling. And that's a little bit of a tongue twister for me, but it's something that I think we need to really understand the inside and outside of it, because a lot of us have websites, and we're developing applications and we have forums. So you're looking at, first and foremost, how do you handle errors? One, from the front end, so clients see them so they know what to do, and visitors of your website, and also so your developers know what to do. And what I'm finding is, and as I own a marketing company, I kind of understood the concept, but now since going to cybersecurity, I'm really diving deep into what's the purpose and why do we really need both sides. Well, first you look at the error. The error on the first side, on the front-facing or client-facing side, is to let the client know if they've entered in something wrong. So if you have fields like first name, last name, email address, phone number, maybe they have a comment field, or they have buttons they need to click on, or drop downs, or something went wrong on those fields, the visitor needs to know, okay, what information they did not fill out correctly. On the other side, where the developers, they need to know what exactly went wrong. So the error on the front end needs to be very simplistic and not provide a lot of detail when it comes to security, just simplistically saying, hey, you filled out this area, this field. And what you normally see is, like, either one, there's a red asterisk, or you see that field highlights in red and just says you filled that out wrong. Right? And it just notifies the visitor. Where on the back end, it can tell the developer maybe they put in the wrong characters. And when you look at exception handling, right, and the development of it, they make sure that these fields only can accept certain characters. And the reason for that is because there's all different types of attacks, web attacks, cross-site scripting, SQL injections, any type of code they can put in there that they could try to break the actual form or the website. So what happens is, with exceptional handling, the developers develop these fields to make sure that only the characters that are supposed to go in those fields. So if it's, for example, a name, it only has letters from A to Z. And that's all that can go in there. Numbers can't go in there, dashes can't go in there, special characters can't go in there. Just A, it'll only accept A to Z. And sometimes they'll even go one step further and say it can only accept so many characters. So, for example, it can only accept 15, right? Because the first name hopefully was not longer than 15 characters long. So they'll put that in as an expectation for that field. And then if it's a phone number field, they'll do it, so they'll code it so it's 3 numbers, a dash, 3 numbers, a dash, and then 4 numbers. And that's all that can go in there. And just numbers, not letters, not special characters. So this is why it's good to know, is as you're developing on your website, why this is done. And then when you look on the error handling on the back end side, the coders need to know, and the developers need to know what exactly went wrong. So there's going to be more detail. And again, on the front end, they don't want any of the attackers or hackers to know, what information is the server, what application, what type of code. They don't want them to know that. They just want to know, on the front end, it's just this error. So something good to know. That's the overview from what I'm learning about error and exception handling. And it's very important to know, if you're developing a website, you want to know these things to make sure that your developers are doing the things that you need. They're not leaving an open hole, and it's not necessarily a back door, but a vulnerability in your site that someone can compromise knowingly or intentionally. So something really to know. Okay, so let's get into the news. I've got my phone here and I'm just pulling up the article. So I got this article from Dark Reading, and it was stating, as I was looking through, and it really caught my eye, it was 1.9 billion data records exposed in first half of 2017. Okay, just to give you a little bit of perspective on that, some context. There's roughly about just over 7 billion people on Earth. There might be more than that. It might be, the numbers might have gone up since I last looked. But you're talking about just over 1/7 of the population is compromised in the first half of this year. Crazy, huh? The article goes in, I've got some points here I just want to kind of read out. Every second, 122 records are exposed in breaches around the globe. A new report shows, and that doesn't even include the new Equifax breach. It blows me away at the moment that every single day more than 10 million pieces of data are exposed. And that quote was from Jason Hart, Vice President and CTO for data protection at Gemalto. I think it's a security company. So to give you kind of an idea, like, wow, like just over 1/7 of the population of the planet Earth has been compromised in the first half of this year. So what does that mean? What does that mean to us? You're probably like, oh my God, okay, so what do I do? Now, if you're a security expert, you're probably thinking, okay, yeah, now I gotta go protect my data, gotta go encrypt it, perfect. But I'm gonna give the ones that don't know, that are kind of like, oh my God, the house is on fire, the house is on fire. I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a checklist. First and foremost, you gotta encrypt your data. All right? Whatever you do, it doesn't matter where it's stored now. If it's stored on your local hard drive, if it's stored on external hard drive, flash drive, USB, if it's stored in the cloud, Dropbox, anything along that line, you have to make sure your data is encrypted. Second, make a checklist of all your service providers. Doesn't matter who you've dealt with, stores, you name it, anyone that has your personal identifiable information of any kind, name, email address, birth date, social insurance or social security number, depending if you're in Canada or United States, credit card number, anyone that has that information. So give you kind of a little bit of a list so you get your mind thinking. Phone companies, internet, cellular phone, your bank, travel agencies, car companies, say you have had service anywhere, anyone that has stored your data, you have to call them and say, one, I want you to encrypt my data. Not are you, I want you to start encrypting my data. Two, when they say, and this is what I'm finding, they say, oh, don't worry, we're securing it, you want to know what level of encryption they're doing. Now, don't broadcast it, don't share it, because it's security for them. But I want you to say, look, what level of encryption? If it's not 128-bit and above, you want to tell them, look, I want my data, my confidential information encrypted. If they tell you that it is, you want to make sure, you want to like really ground them. You want to say, look, okay, then send me an email on that saying that it is encrypted, that this is what I want documentation. The reason why is this, and something I'm going to give you a little bit of insider information, I'm finding is there's some companies that share your information. And it might just be your first name, last name, and your email address, right, and your mailing address, or like some of your contact information. And they're doing this for marketing purposes. You look at your license agreement, your terms of service when you're signing up. A lot of these companies say when you sign up for our service, we have the right to use your information, whatever seems fit, or use it with third parties, or some legal jargon terminology like that, meaning that they can share it. Well, if they share it, then what happens is if company A is the company you're working with and company B, they share with company B, company A might encrypt it, but they might decrypt it to share with company B. Now, doesn't mean company B is going to encrypt it. So now, if a compromise happens in between the communication or on company B, doesn't matter if company A is encrypting it, they shared your information, now the encryption is gone. And this is the exact same thing as you're here, and I don't know if you know this, but when someone encrypts on a file on a hard drive and they transfer over to a USB, but the USB is not encrypted and the file decrypts to transfer, well, now that file is open and in plain text. Same thing. If it's encrypted over here and they have to transfer it in plain text over into company B, now there's no encryption, there's no security. That data is just up there and open. So if anyone compromises company B, guess what? Your data now is out in the internet. People can sell it, they do whatever, get your identity stolen, you name it. I know this is kind of like a little doom and gloom, and I don't want to be like that. I want you to be safe. Right, that's my goal of doing these videos, to make sure that you're safe and secure. And that's why I do these, is to, one, educate myself and keep on myself to learn, but also provide this information so that you're doing the right actions to protect yourself. Because if you're not, what happens is when a compromise happens, 1.9 billion data points have been compromised, or people's data has been compromised. If you're one of those people, now you go, I wish I would have known. Well, I want to be proactive and put you in the know. So that's it for today's video. All the links, the resources that I've been reading from are below in the description. So make sure if you have any questions, you want to read up on it, read up below. I want to say thank you so much for everyone that's been watching my videos and provide me great feedback on the new format. It's really exciting. I'm excited to keep learning and keep moving forward. If you do find value in this, please share this with your family, your friends, your colleagues, anyone that you know, because I want to make sure that we help as many people as we can, because the more we're aware of what pro actions we need to do, the less we'll get compromised. Now, I'm not saying we won't at all, but we're going to set up barriers, right? So it's going to be harder for us to be compromised, right? And then if our data is encrypted, for example, you know, it's 128 bits, it's going to be harder for the hackers to decrypt it, and that makes sure that our data is a little bit more secure. You know, it's 80% secure. Now, I'm not going to say it's 100% because there's always a possibility to get compromised. But the more barriers that we put in between us and the hackers, the harder it is for them to compromise us. So that's it for today's video. Don't forget, software is hackable, being connected is vulnerable, and I'll see you next video.